This video goes along with two different note-taking sheets that you have. First, your irregular notes sheet, that's bright pink in color. We'll be adding one additional verb to that today. And then the second sheet that you will need is the yellow one. It's titled Vámonos. Come on everybody, let's go. Go verbs in Spanish. So we're actually going to be looking at the verb to go and then some verbs that have an irregular go ending today. Now that you've got those sheets, let's go ahead and get started. The Spanish verb ir means to go. It's an irregular verb. The chart for it is as follows. Voy, I go. Vas, you go. Va, he goes, she goes, or you formal go. Vamos, we go. Vais, y'all go. And finally, van, they go or you all go. The fact that all of these start with a V is definitely irregular, but basically the endings here are just your standard AR endings, with the exception of the yo form, which adds the Y to voy, and the vosotros form, which does not have the accent mark. For the remainder of this video, you will need to switch over to the yellow note-taking sheet entitled Vámonos. Come on everybody, let's go. Go verbs in Spanish. There are several verbs in Spanish that are irregular in the yo form only. These verbs are salir, to leave, hacer, which means to do or to make, and poner, which means to put or to place. So now for the go verbs part of this sheet. To form the yo form of salir, we start with our usual stem, sal, S-A-L. Rather than adding the normal or standard ending of O, we add G-O, the go part. And we form the verb salgo, which then means I leave. The other 5 forms of salir are normal, sales, sale, salimos, salís, and salen. The next go verb we're going to look at is hacer. And to form the yo form of hacer, rather than just dropping the ER ending that we would traditionally do, we're going to take off the C as well. So for the yo form, our stem is just the HA, a. And then we're going to add the irregular go ending to form hago, I do or I make. The remaining 5 forms of this verb are completely normal, haces, hace, hacemos, haces, and hacen. The next go verb we're going to look at is poner. To form the yo form of poner, you're going to take off your ER ending and replace it with the GO ending. So we have the word pongo, I put, or I place. The remaining 5 forms then are normal, pones, pone, ponemos, pones, and ponen. There are 2 other verbs that we're going to look at today that have a yo form that ends with go, but these 2 verbs are also irregular in the other forms. These verbs are tener, which means to have, and venir, which means to come. We've already learned the forms of the verb tener, but just as a reminder, let's go over its forms again. We have tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tenéis, and tienen. So the yo form, again, that ending is the go that we've been looking at today with these other verbs. And then there are irregularities in the to, the el, ella, usted, and the ellos, ellas, ustedes forms, where we've added an I into the stem. The conjugations of the verb venir are very similar to tener. The only major difference is the first letter. So the forms of venir, vengo, vienes, viene, venimos, venís, vienen. And as you can see, these are really very, very similar to tener. We just changed the T to a V. And this is especially true of the 4 forms that are highlighted here, where that is literally the only difference between venir and tener in its conjugated forms, as that T changes to a V. So hopefully that'll make these easier to memorize. The nosotros and vosotros forms are regular, it's just IR endings this time. And that's going to do it for today's verb lesson. Just to recap, remember we looked at the verb ir, which means to go in Spanish, and we also looked at irregular verbs salir, hacer, poner, tener, and venir, which end with go in the yo form. With that, I think you're good to go. Hasta luego.